Hi, I'm Miss Mary, and welcome to Storytime today. We're going to start our stories by saying hello to all our neighbors. And here we got to get our hands rolling. Say, hello, neighbor. Hello, neighbor. What do you say? What do you say? It's going to be a wonderful day. So clap your hands, stomp your feet, jump up and down, and have a seat. All right. Our story today is called Peace and Quiet. It's a Yiddish folktale that begins on the farm. Once upon a time, there was a farmer who lived all by himself. He had lots of animals. He had chickens and goats, cows, and horses. And he would have been quite happy there, except when he went to sleep, his house was too noisy. He would lay down and suddenly the door would creak, the floor would squeak, and the windows would rattle, rattle, rattle. So he thought he would go up and speak to the old woman and ask for help. So he walked up the hill to the old woman and said, "Old woman, could you please help me? My house is too noisy and I cannot sleep." And the old woman thought for a minute and said, "Farmer, do you have any chickens?" And the farmer said, "Yes, I have lots of chickens." And the old woman said, "Then tonight bring one of those chickens into the house." And the farmer thought, okay. So he went back to his house. And that evening, he brought his chicken into the house with him. So he crawled into bed and pulled the covers up to his chin. Suddenly, the door began to creak, creak. The floor began to squeak, squeak. And the windows began to rattle, 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 rattle. And the chicken began to cluck, 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 cluck. Well, the man got no sleep that night. And he went back to the old woman and said, "Old woman, my house is even noisier now. I cannot sleep." And the old woman said, "Farmer, do you have any goats?" And the farmer said, "Yes, I have lots of goats." So the old woman said, "Take one into your house with you tonight." And so the farmer went back home. And that evening, he got a goat and brought the goat into the house with him. Well, once again, the farmer laid in his bed and pulled his covers up to his chin. And soon, the door began to creak. The floor began to squeak, squeak, and the windows began to rattle, 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 and the chicken began to cluck, 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 cluck. The goat began to baa, baa, and the poor farmer laid all night with his eyes wide open. So the next day, he went back to the old woman up the hill, and he said, "Old woman, I cannot sleep. Now the noise is just awful." And the old woman sat back and started thinking and said, "Farmer, do you have a cow?" And the farmer said, "Yes, I have many cows." And the woman said, "Then bring one of those cows into your house." And the farmer, once again, walked down the hill. And that evening, he brought his cow into the house. And once again, he laid in his bed with the covers pulled up to his chin. He had just gotten comfortable when the door began to creak. Creak! The floor began to squeak. Squeak! The windows began to rattle, rattle, rattle. The chicken began to cluck, 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 cluck. The goat began to baa, baa. And now the cow began to moo, moo. Well, the poor farmer was up all night, sitting on the side of his bed. He could not sleep with all that noise. So the next day, he marched back up the hill to the old woman and said, "Old woman, what am I to do? I cannot work if I cannot sleep, and you cannot live if you cannot work." And the old woman said, after waiting a minute, she said, "Farmer, do you have a horse?" And the farmer said, "Yes, I have a horse." And he said, "Okay, yes, I know what to do." So he walked down the hill. And that evening, he brought his horse into his house. And once again, he crawled into bed and pulled the covers up to his chin. And once again, the door began to creak. Creak! The floor began to squeak. Squeak! And the windows began to rattle. Rattle, rattle, rattle. And the chicken began to cluck. Cluck, 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 cluck. And the goat began to baa. Baa, baa. And the cow began to moo. Moo. And the horse began to neigh, neigh. Well, the poor farmer jumped out of bed, even though it was midnight, late, and up the road he went, and went to the old woman and said, "Old woman, help me, help me." And the old woman sat back and said, "Farmer, it's time to take all the animals out of your house." So the farmer, so tired, walked back down the hill. And one by one, he took the horse and put him back in the barn. And he took the cow and he put him back in the field. He took the goat and put him back in his pen. And he grabbed the chicken and put her back in her coop. And he walked into his house, laid on his bed, covered up with his blanket to his chin, and fell asleep. Well, suddenly the door began to creak. Creak! But the farmer slept on. And the floor began to creak. Creak! But the farmer kept sleeping. And the windows began to rattle, rattle, rattle. But the farmer slept on. He never woke up. So the next morning, he woke up and he said, "Finally, I got a good night's sleep. And they lived happily ever after. Because there was peace and quiet throughout the house. Yay! Good for the farmer. He got used to the normal sounds instead of all the animal sounds. All right, so now we are going to stay on the farm, but we are going to count some eggs. We have one group of eggs, and we have another group of eggs, just like so. What kind of eggs are they? These are white chicken eggs. And we're going to count them. Let's count this group first. Have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in this clump of eggs, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's count them all together and see how many eggs we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the rhyme goes like this. 5 eggs and 5 eggs, and that makes 10. Sitting on top is Mother Hen. Cackle, cackle, cackle. And what do you see? 10 little chicks, as yellow as can be. There they are. Let's count them and see how many chicks we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 little chicks. And Mama looks pretty happy sitting on her little babies. All right. So now we are going to stand up and get our wiggles out. All right. So we're going to get our hands going with clapping. And we're going to get our feet going with some stomping. And we're going to get our hands moving, our arms back. All right. We're going to start like this. Clap your hands, 1, 2, 3. Clap your hands, 1, 2, 3. Clap your hands, 1, 2, 3. Won't you clap along with me? What about our feet? You ready to stomp? Here we go. Stomp your feet, 1, 2, 3. Stomp your feet, 1, 2, 3. Stomp your feet, 1, 2, 3. Won't you stomp your feet with me? There you go. Now we're going to use our arms. Are you ready? Find your arms, 1, 2, 3. Find your arms, 1, 2, 3. Find your arms, 1, 2, 3. Find someone to love you to hug. There you go. Let's try it one more time. Ready? Clap your hands, 1, 2, 3. Clap your hands, 1, 2, 3. Clap your hands, 1, 2, 3. Won't you clap along with me? Stomp your feet, 1, 2, 3. Stomp your feet, 1, 2, 3. Stomp your feet, 1, 2, 3. Won't you stomp your feet with me? Find your arms, 1, 2, 3. Find your arms, 1, 2, 3. Find your arms and give a hug. Find someone you love to hug. Yay! Now before we leave, I wanted to show you one more thing since we were very quiet and we were very noisy. I wanted to show you how to say quiet with your hands for sign language. And it goes like this. Cross your hands and go down. Cross your hands and push the sound away. There you go, quiet. All right, good job. All right, now we're gonna wave goodbye. Ready? We wave goodbye like this. We wave goodbye like this. We clap our hands for all our friends. We wave goodbye like this. Bye-bye. Have a great day. Bye-bye.